Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Unleashed and Uncensored. My name is Josh. I'm here with you from Inline Canine. Today, I want to talk to you about what it's like to work a canine in a Tier 1 Special Operations environment. So, there's a lot of questions on this, and out of respect to the institution, I won't dive too deep into specific tactics or anything like that, but I wanted to give you guys a broad overview of what it's like working a dog in a small team environment, both at home and domestically. So, in 2017, I had the good fortune to do a canine training course out at JTF2 here in Ottawa. Fantastic program, built on the back of Brad Gillespie with the OPP, who is now the head trainer for the OPP, or one of the head trainers. A program built from the ground up, extremely correct, in my opinion, now understanding a little more about, training and behaviors. Very well done. Continue to grow, learn, make mistakes, invent, transform, destroy, and create, if you will. I think that's what driven people do, and that's definitely what he did. Having been away from the program since 2022 or 2023, I'm not sure as to what it is now, but what it was probably a period in my life in which I don't think I could enjoy anymore if I tried. It was absolutely fascinating, from learning everything on how to train a canine progressionally, from to its first area search, to how to help the dog understand the context of bite work in a complex scenario. There are so many complex tasks when working with these canines that people think it's magic, or it takes an extremely long time. And you're right, it does take a long time. But at the end of the day, each of these behaviors comes with its own set of breakdown of progressions, and we work through them continuously to achieve the desired behaviors. An example from the lowest: if I want to build a sit, it's easy. If I want to build an area search, yes, more difficult for sure. However, progressions, including distance, duration, distraction, and everything, all are the same. So it's important to understand how we use these training governances to help us, and how they helped us achieve our tasks. So what are our tasks, right? Again, respect to the institution. A Tier 1 working dog has a multitude of tasks depending on the unit and or their specific directives. So the dog that I had was a dual purpose dog. He was bite work. He did bite work and explosive detection. To this day, explosive detection is still one of the most fascinating and fun things that I've ever got to train, work through, both from when things are going well and when things are going wrong, when the dog doesn't understand what's being asked or how to improve. It's been fascinating to learn and grow from 2017 to now, to seeing different collective agencies doing this and what's out there. So a lot of lessons learned, a lot of mistakes were made, and and that's the whole goal, right? First step to success is failure. So what is the dog's role? So we talk about bite work. Now, not only think about this, not only do you need that dog to just bite, you need that dog to bite away from you, in the dark, under attack potentially, whether that's physical or environmental, and I need him to do that in any and all situations and terrain. Okay, so when you think of a training task for this dog, think of how many complex scenarios you need to come up with in order to train a dog to do this. Think of the photos that you need to show the dog, where he understands, oh, this is good, even though someone is yelling no at me, someone is hitting me, someone is potentially hurting me. At the end of the day, the dog understands, what do I have to do? I have to drive in. I have to drive in further, and that will release the pressure, right? This is the concept and the basis for all the training that we do with these type of dogs. So when you think of what we're asking these dogs to do, it is absolutely quite remarkable. And the more environmentals and confidence we can build in these dogs, the better and stronger not only their bite is going to be, but their drive to their hunt drive, their prey drive are going to be as well. So secondly, explosive detection. So like I said earlier, this is probably one of the most fun areas that I ever got to train. There is so much to learn, but at the end of the day, everyone is absolutely enamored with the end state, with that pretty sit, that pretty down, that pretty stare. What is the most important aspect of teaching your dog to hunt, right? To hunt and to find. If my dog alerts me, there are many ways that dog can alert me before he ever gives me a final response, right? And you guys out there and myself knew our dogs better than anyone. So in my situation, being in the military, I'd rather not let my dog, while searching for pressure plates or any explosives before Canadians or other allied forces make entry. I would rather him go search and maybe not find right to final response, because I don't want him to trigger it either, right? So if understanding and learning those behavior changes within these dogs could not only save them, but also potentially save the lives of your team and people around them. So very important to understand canine behavior changes and get to know your dog. And someone told me this one time, and it stuck with me, and it's one of the things that has been passed around through the industry. Trust your dog. Your dog cannot fake head snaps. They can fake sits, they can fake downs, they can fake a lot of different behaviors. They cannot fake a head snap. It is genetically not available to them in that Rolodex to make that distinction. So trust your dog. Understand when they're showing interest in something or they're sniffing animal piss. There's a big difference, and this is why we train. So training any and all of those complex behaviors, whether it be tracking, searching, or bite work, apprehension, as it were. They're all complex behaviors, and they all seem like this super special magic skill that, take years for the dogs to develop. But at the end of the day, you put the right time and effort into your dog. Yes, genetics definitely come into play, and it'll help, and one will be stronger than the other. And that's just like us for humans, right? But these dogs can do it. You show them they can do it. And you'll achieve your aim. Now, to what level will that aim be? That'll be up for you and your end users to decide whether it meets the goals. We had a very high standard, and it was incredible to watch these dogs succeed and grow. And it was very rewarding from a handler standpoint. Super impressive getting to work domestically and abroad. In Iraq, I was fortunate enough to deploy twice with my dog. I made so many mistakes during that deployment. So many, as a new handler, I think all new handlers can relate. More is more. More is not more, right? More is bad, right? So less is more. Giving your dog clean, good, strong photos, clearer pictures, and good communication of what the dog is required to do for these behaviors will absolutely be worth 10 times more than you running that same scenario 30 times over or pushing something too long and missing the point, right? So have an aim dedicated to your training. Choose your aim, whether it be one or two small ones. Nail it, mark it, reward it. What gets rewarded gets repeated. Remember that. How do we keep a dog working in these type of environments? This is something that was very new to me. I didn't have a traveling vet with me. I didn't have a traveling medic that necessarily knew much about the dogs, potentially, maybe a few hours away, maybe a chopper ride away. So understanding how to not only take care of my dog from a day-to-day level, but if something happened too, if he was cut, if he was shot, if he was going down with heat exhaustion, all these different things was very important and very rewarding. And I got to do a lot of hands-on training, both with our dogs and live tissue as well. So very fortunate. I learned a lot from my dog. He was very forgiving in allowing me to fumble around his body, if you will, and learn the different areas and understand what he needed to be successful, when he was searching, when he wasn't searching, right? All these different things, right? Because the more we can keep that search drive up for whatever it is, whether it be explosives or people, the more likely we are to complete our task, right? And keep our people safe. So what does it take to keep these dogs working? On mission, I used to carry IV bags and give subcutaneous fluid to these dogs based on number of hours working, searching, and the heat. Some days I'd be searching 10, 12, 14 hours outside in 40 to 50 degree heat. Obviously, this is not conducive to a lot of searching for dogs, right? This is not something we can ask of them that long, especially the acclimatization process. So getting into theater, doing a lot of work to help just acclimatize him, whether it be just basic search work, little play, just work up his heart rate and getting him more acclimatized to this weather, and not needing 6 liters of water every 2 hours. So that went great. It was interesting to see how he required less and less, and the demand could go more and more. So understanding, reading your dog, so important. Having the tools necessary to save his life, med kits for those police and military handlers, understanding how to stop major bleeds, understanding how to deal with bloat should that arise, a needle decompression, everything to choking on a ball to a major slash in a pad, how to take care of it. Because once that dog goes down, that's a major capability and a force multiplier that you have now lost until that dog is back up and running. So I'd rather put my dog away for 10 minutes in an air-conditioned armored vehicle, allow him to recoup while we take a 10-minute break from moving forward, then run him the extra hour straight, and my searching efficiency is degraded by 50%, let's say. Now I run the risk of my dog missing something. So understanding your goals, what your aim is. Remember, operations drive training. I can't emphasize this enough. Your operations drive your training, not the other way around. And I think a lot of people get this wrong. So what you are doing and what you will be expected to do, both what is likely and what is happening, are both very important. Your dog needs to see these photos in any and all environments and understand this is how I get the toy. Environmental considerations. This is something that you need to consider working in the city, working outside of the city. I think you need to be ready to do any and all operations in your area of operations. So understanding that I may need to bring water. This isn't Black Hawk Down where I'm not going to be, I don't need my back plate because I'm not going to be running from the enemy, right? Like the dumbest shit ever. So you need to understand that when you need something, you need to have it. It's better to have and not need than need and not have. And please, as a handler, remember that you can carry the extra 1 to 5 pounds, an extra long lead, extra med kit, extra water, sub-Q fluid, whatever it might be, a toy, something to reward your dog with, C4 explosive, whatever. These things are so important to bring, have them on you, and be able to mark and reward on operations. This now you're talking a big picture, right? Because we can't replicate the scent that we give off during a real world operation. You talk about the fear scent that dogs pick up on, and I know people understand this. Well, think about the movement and the way our expressions change when we're moving to an objective with a dog. You don't think that he understands the difference between that and a training world. So just remember, training does not drive operations. Operations drive training. This is something that is important. Make sure you have everything you need on you for you and your canine to operate optimally. So fortunately enough, I was able to get to do a lot of different stuff with my dog, understanding how to get into specific areas with your dog, right? It's great if we just have to get in a vehicle and go do our operations or walk to our operations. Great. Our dogs can get there. We can get there. It's all great. What happens if we're in a helicopter, right? So now we're talking, you have to desensitize and neutralize your dog to that, right? This last thing you need is your dog tagging one of your teammates as they get in the helicopter, or once the stress level gets up, the chopper starts banking, whatever that might be, right? So neutralization as a handler, so important for any and all photos for your dog, very important. Never stop doing that. Neutrality is probably one of the most important things you can do. Secondly, understanding, okay, how do I get my dog inserted and extracted from these environments, right? Very important when you're thinking about conducting operations, whether, like I said, vehicle, foot, or aerial insertion. So I was fortunate enough to get training on jumping our dogs as well, which was very interesting. So my dog got a couple of live jumps as well, and it's a whole new world for sure. And the trust with the dog, he was fine. Honestly, he could care less. It was actually quite funny watching him just fall with me and then opening up under canopy and me just yelling, "Good boy." So I still have that video. It's still fantastic. But exposing your dogs to fast rope insertion, rappel insertion, understanding how to do that, understanding how to use the equipment, understanding the limitations with that equipment, and the behaviors that your dog might exhibit under that level of stress when you have 8 people getting out of a chopper at the same time and you're swinging out onto the skid, right? The dog is not touching anything. They're either hanging off you or on your back, right? So just remember that that's going to send a new fear through their heads as well. So there's a lot of trust that goes from a handler to a canine and canine to a handler. And this is one of those that I found is the bigger ones for sure. Like, all right, you sure you want to do this? All right, we'll try it, right? And then when you get on the ground, everything's good. And then all your teammates come over and pet him while he's on your back. It's pretty funny. So, insertion, extraction, ready for all operations. Very important. You need to do this and understand it. We trained a lot in this because at the end of the day, walking, driving is easy. It's the stuff that it's the extracurriculars that we need to confirm, neutralize, and create neutrality to. Now, I know what you're thinking when I say jump with my dog. What altitude are we getting at? Stuff like that. So to my knowledge, I'm not going to speak to capabilities, both in Canada and across the allied area. However, don't believe everything you see on SEAL Team. Not to say they're not at 30,000 feet with their dog, breathing through his 3D printed mask. But I'm not going to tell you that's a real thing either. At the end of the day, it might be. Who am I to say? But just remember, what you see is not always real. So understand that those limitations are real as well. Yeah, so another thing I want to talk to you guys about, working a dog in this environment, canine handler and team communications, and everything that goes along with that. How and why we use the dog. Obviously, they're going to be different for every unit, for officers, for military, whatever your TTPs are. However, understanding how and why the dog would get deployed, it's not a now what, it's then what. You have to think about that. If I send my dog, not now what, then what. I've planned for it already. Okay, my dog has found someone. What am I doing? Does he have access to him? Is he on the bite? Did he find something? Did he not? Can I recall him? What do we have to do? It's all understanding that once you use that dog, that force multiplier is out and away from you. You have to understand how to get him back without endangering your team. Because at the end of the day, and I know, I might catch a lot of flack for this, and I'm one of the biggest lovers of dogs out there. I think we know that I'm one of the biggest dogs lovers out there. But at the end of the day, it is just a dog, and something that Brad instilled from us, and I think it's correct, is it's just a fucking dog, JAFTA. At the end of the day, they are our friends, they are our allies, they are our companions, but they are our tool. And if they need to be used in an attempt to save someone's life and bring them back to their families, that's exactly what they will do. The goal is to not use them and just send them to their death. That is the complete opposite of what we would do. Like any tool, and force multiplier, I don't want to waste it. It is something that I need to bring back so I could use again, right? So when you're thinking about deploying your dog on a police side, right? This is something I find you see a lot of videos of this online, a lot of inexperienced canine handlers, police handlers. I see a lot of the videos from the States. So there's some really good ones. And then I see ones where I'm like, fuck, that dog is dead now because of inexperience, right? And that's not to call out the officer. That's just a training thing that we need to rectify. Right? Then what? Not now what? Very important when you think about this from a training perspective. Okay, what do I do if this happens? You should have already gone through all that before you let that dog off its leash and you send that dog to go find or fight. Integrating your canine into the teams. This is something that you will need, depending on your role and your use and the department. This is something you're going to spend a considerable amount of time on, or at least this is something I think you should do. Your fellow officers, fellow soldiers, fellow agents, whatever department you might have, need to know that they need to not worry about the dog. Their eyes and mind can't be on whether the dog is around them and or going to bite them and or near them. They need to focus on the up and out of what they're doing, right? Their safety. It is so important. One of the things that I made sure whilst integrating my canine into my teams was ensuring my team knew exactly how and when and why I would deploy the dog, and then how I could best utilize a canine for their purposes as well. So we'd take time after debriefs to talk about, could I have used him there? Could I do this? Could they do that? And I would talk them through it and say, yeah, we could try here. From a training perspective, I think this would be good. Real life, I wouldn't do this, vice versa. Little things like that. So your team understanding how and why and when that your dog gets deployed, and what happens if and when it finds or fights someone is very important. The team can't be worried about what the dog is doing. They need to worry about what they're doing. So important. So, and as a handler in a tier 1 unit, my job, that dog was my secondary. He was really my tertiary weapon. I had my primary, my secondary was my pistol, my tertiary is a dog. Pretty sweet when you think about it, having a third fur missile as a weapon, pretty awesome. So, and I could do multiple things at once, which was kind of cool. So, but understanding and building that relationship within your team is vital to real world operations, and ensuring that you get optimal use out of your canine in a small or large team complex environment. Next thing I want to talk about is some of the technology out there for canines and how we use them, and different aspects of how we integrated them into our teams. So a lot of different stuff out there, a lot of different cameras for dogs. I've seen communication collars, e-collars, lights, all sorts of stuff, night vision cameras, all great stuff. I'm not going to talk about our unit and what we used, but as a generalization, many dogs have cameras on them in tier 1 units. I think it's amazing what they do. That ability to go forth and see and be the eyes and have someone hunting for you, not only for people, but for dangerous items, plays such a vital role in mission success and mission safety, because getting home and seeing our families is probably one. Post-mission success, right? So very important. I use this quite a bit. This is incredible. Being able to understand and read the dog on the fly through its television, call it dog TV, right? Canine TV. Awesome, fun to watch, whether they're on the bite or finding something or just taking a shit. I've seen that too. That's pretty funny. Side note, I had a teammate asked me, they were watching with me on my camera during a live operation, and my dog stopped and was kind of in a half sit, but I could tell his ears were down. So to me, that he was not in a final response situation. He was in a doing something situation. And sure enough, that's exactly what he did. We found it on the entry. So quite funny. See, dogs are nervous too. They do their thing. So he finished his search. He was like, nope, nothing here. This is bullshit. I'm going to shit in the middle of the area. So I thought that was really funny. And that became a trend, which is kind of funny too. So a lot of caves. He's shit in a lot of caves. So understanding technology, its limitations, right? And then what, not now what? Understanding if you have a camera go down, am I recalling my dog? Am I going to have a long line on my dog? Are there women and children in there? Can I use my dog here? These are all things that are very important from a handler perspective, because just because somebody tells you to use the dog, it doesn't mean you have to, right? That weapon, it is a weapon. That weapon is your responsibility at the end of the day, just like your primary and secondary. If someone tells you to shoot someone, you don't just shoot someone, right? You have to understand the rules of engagement and everything that works within that, right? It's the same for the dog. If someone tells me to send my dog and I just blindly listen and it hammers a kid, that comes with a lot of consequences, right? Comes with a lot of issues, right? A lot of scarring, a lot of, no matter where we are in training, real life, overseas, it doesn't matter. It's just not something we want to do. If we have to take a chance and do something, we understand collateral damage and all those other aspects. However, we do our best to limit those situations, right? And that's why we have the control we do over our dogs. And that's why I place so much emphasis on control. And one of the arguments you'll hear from a working dog perspective is, if I add in too much control, Josh, what I feel is though I limit my output on my dog. Now, while I understand if you come down too hard in training or real life, you can, you dampen a dog, shut them down, slow their efficiency because they're worried about being corrected, right? I will say, your dog understanding through clear communication and training, understanding what gets him rewarded and what gets him corrected is going to maximize your control without limiting his capabilities, right? You're channeling his drive to areas he knows he's able to do and he's done and shown over and over and been rewarded, right? So don't be afraid of adding control. Be afraid of adding control without communication. This is a big, big point, right? Then what, not now what, clear communication, marker training, and I can't stress enough when we talk about technology, e-collars. While I'm blue in the face, every fucking dog, both domestic and working, should be on e-collar. The capability to control my dog at a distance, not only for its safety, but for mission success is vital. And if you're really nerdy, it had a little light on it sometimes. So there you go. You can give the dog a little path too, right? But very vital to success. So e-collar training, proper e-collar training is vital. The dog understanding what gets him rewarded, what gets him punished, understanding for him how to complete operations, and what gets rewarded gets repeated. The last little bit of technology I'll talk about, IR lights on our dogs, the strobes, fantastic, able to be seen by any coverage we might have in the air, especially if we're going exterior, and the team as well, especially if we're conducting nighttime operations. So really vital for us. We can go either full light or IR, allowing the dog to see should we need him to, or allowing us to see on the exterior where he is, if he's approaching another team, that I need to make them aware, right? Because as soon as I release that weapon is my responsibility. I need to ensure it is focusing on mission success and not hurting someone else in the environment. Very important. So many of you canine handlers, both from a police perspective and a military perspective, I would argue are officers or soldiers first, okay? And what does that mean? That means that your primary job is to be a police officer minus the canine, a tier 1 operator minus the canine. So when we think about training and everything that I and others had to upheld in order to achieve our own personal success so that I am not a liability in that environment, right? So that I am a force multiplier, just like my teammates and colleagues, ensuring that I can bring a dog into that environment because I need to understand everything that my team is doing as they're doing it in order to maximize canine capability, right? So from a police perspective, when we got everyone yelling, screaming, tasers being deployed, gunshots, whatever, your dogs, showing them that picture is a lot, right? But vital to their success. Same with small team operations, both interior, exterior, under light, under nods, incredibly vital to understand. And this is where I think, this is my personal opinion, is handlers, you're going to get more efficiency out of a canine tool if the handler is an operator and basically a frontline officer or operator. The dog will get so many clear opportunities up front from a training perspective. And then when we look at from a handler perspective, what we bring to the table, moving up with the teams right at the first sign of an issue, is so much more vital to continued mission success because movement is life, right? The moment we become sedentary and slow down or stop during a mission, that's very dangerous for everyone involved, right? Giving people time and opportunity that, quite frankly, that we just can't have happen. Handler burden and responsibility, so important. Again, it's not the end of the world, but for me, in a tier 1 perspective, I absolutely agree that canine handlers, well used in small team deployment, should be frontline assaulters or operators. This is just a personal opinion. I'd love to hear your comments on this and see what you guys think as well. I think what you can accomplish with a dog right on the spot rather than waiting 2 minutes. That's no fault of anyone else, like any supporters who might be handling a canine they're giving a lot of time and effort as well, but they're not you. And there's a difference, right? There's a very big difference in the way we understand how to deploy that dog and how to use them in a small team. And some of the character traits that go into selection for that and everything. So again, very important, just an opinion. Frontline soldiers and officers, they should be the ones with the canines. So I was fortunate enough to have some great opportunities to train with a lot of other allied nations from a canine perspective and an operator assaulter perspective. The Brits, the Americans, the Aussies, the French, just a lot of different tier 1 and allied nations. It's funny, we all had similar jobs, and we all were selected and trained a little differently. I would say selected a little differently, but we'd all end up the same. And I found that quite fascinating. I never really truly believed in our selection process more than I have after meeting all these different nations and training with them, because it was so different than other countries. And other countries were different from each other, but then the end product was always the same, and it was quite fascinating to see. Now you take that to a canine side, that's still like any technology or capability. It's what that team puts into it, right? So I found certain countries put more emphasis on building badass dogs that would just fucking munch their way through anything, go through the plate glass window, right? Well, I don't need the fucking dog to go through the plate glass window. This is my opinion. I want the dog that then uses the fucking lever door, saves his body and energy, and then goes and achieves the aim, right? Whatever that might be, find or fight. So the dogs in the tier 1 environment from different countries all did different things, and they were all used and trained a little differently. I found a lot of countries didn't have frontline handlers, and if they did, they would very rarely carry them. Something that I really wanted to push was having the dog with us at all times, when it made sense, obviously. At the end of the day, I was an operator. That was my first goal, job one, bar none, right? But it's such a, it's better to have than not need, than need and not have. So that was something I pushed from day one. It was something that I loved. I spent an inordinate amount of time putting effort into, both training at home, abroad, and interdomestically, both in the States and Canada with different police units, just seeing how they did things and why, right? Because at the end of the day, I don't know shit, right? So from 2017 to now, it's been 8 years. I pay no attention to the fact when somebody says they've been doing something for 20 years, 30 years, and that's the way they've always done it, that instantly tells me that I don't necessarily trust you. Not because you might be right or wrong, but because there's no one who has been doing something the same for 20 or 30 years. Because if you are not evolving, if you are not looking to build, invent, create, transform, destroy, all these different things that make us the best in the world, then you are failing. So to say that you've been doing something for 20 years just tells me you haven't evolved, and you're probably not up to date on the more efficient ways of doing things. It doesn't mean a lot of those things don't look similar. It just means that we as a dog training community, especially in the tier 1 community, need to understand what our goals are and focus on the operations and build the training around the operations. Yeah. So just remember, our jobs as canine handlers, we're not just handlers, we're also trainers. This is very important. I know everyone will have a different opinion on this, and I value it. I look forward to hearing about it in our comments, in our DMs, whatever that might be. But at the end of the day, it's your weapon. It's your job to make sure you use your weapon appropriately. If you have a problem, seek out training, seek out your trainer, and work through it and build on it. Don't just manage it. This is laziness, especially in a tier 1 and officer side. I'm sorry. I understand, especially on the officer side, that you guys work a lot. In fact, I would argue you're 99% operations, 1% training, right? And I value and respect you guys so much for it. But in a lot of instances, we become complacent, right? This is a life thing. This isn't just an officer thing. But we can become complacent because these things haven't happened yet, right? Well, I need to understand how to get my dog to recall to me if he gets off leash. Well, I don't let him off leash. I don't care if you don't let him off leash. You need to understand how to control your dog in any and all environments so that when this does happen, right? When he is targeting kids as you're walking down, when he is doing this, right? Little things like that. It's very important for us to not become complacent and build competency through training focused around operations. The last thing I want to talk about, lessons learned, both from a training and operational perspective. This is something that I I can't say enough about. I am the handler and trainer that I am today because of my failures. And I think it's all time we acknowledge that we're not perfect. No, neither are the dogs, right? They're only doing what they think will get them rewarded. So if they're not doing what we're asking, it's on us to help them understand. Right? That's a big takeaway for trainers at all levels in all agencies. Your dog is not just going to blatantly fuck you off, right? Like you show them what they need, you show them what you have to do, and you build repeatability through reward. They are going to complete these tasks for you, right? Genetics aside, they will do it. To what level? Again, that's up to you and your department to determine. So when we talk about where we make our mistakes and how to learn from them, it's important to understand debriefing. Not only your own personal debrief. Hey, did I reward enough on that mission? Did I take the time to acknowledge when my dog did great things? Did I reward him when he did the job, or healed throughout, whatever it might be, right? Recalled great, silent, whatever. It's important to understand you can have someone to talk these things over with too. Bounce ideas. Why did you deploy your dog there? You need to be able to explain these things, right? Both to from a legal standpoint, I think, most importantly, a safety standpoint, and then a training standpoint. We always have to look at everything like shooting. Did it hit? Did it work? Right? Dogs. Did I deploy them? Did it work? Yes. Okay, good. Could I have done it better? Now that I know it worked, great. How can I be better, right? It doesn't matter if you just get something to work. How can it work well? How can it work more efficient? How can I save steps on my dog so that the next time he's 10% more ready to search, ready to fight, ready to find, right? These are all things that we need to take into consideration. We're only out there for an hour. I don't need to bring water. Bring water, wear a back plate, and bring your MVGs, right? This is, we all watch Black Hawk Down. Well, it's the same shit for our dogs. Bring these things that help our dogs succeed and help you succeed as handler. Very, very, very important. So to end with that, be critical of what you're doing as a handler. It's important to look inward, find your efficiencies, build on them, understand, have a fundamental understanding of your operations, and be able to build training around them, right? All your training shouldn't just be one layer so your dog succeeds simply every time with no problem sets, right? No input from the handler. There's times when we want our dogs to work out and away, and there's dogs when we need them down and in, right? We have to understand which is which, and understand how to control that dog and throttle his drive appropriately to have him achieve the end state. So I hope you guys enjoyed this today. We covered a lot of different stuff. It stayed pretty broad in terms of what it's like to operate a dog in a tier 1 environment. I will say in closing that this was one of, if not the best times in my life. I can't say enough good things about it. I was so fortunate. I got to work with some of the best people in the industry. I got to learn, train, make mistakes, and grow from some of the best people and places in the industry, and I continue to have that approach when I apply my training into pet obedience or police working dogs moving forward. I can't say enough about understanding it's okay to make mistakes as a handler. Learn from them. If we miscorrect, if we miss our timing, if we set up the scenario with too many aims and the dog gets confused, stop, put your dog up, fix the scenario, bring him back out, run it clean, reward, move forward. It's really that simple. Your dog should enjoy training. It should enjoy the fuck out of training. Training is fun. Operations are even fucking funner. So have a blast, stay safe, and I hope this information finds you guys well. Thank you. See you guys again next week.